So do I think it's a new classic? Happy early, I was gonna say Halloween, happy early Valentine's Day. We love taking anything, any holiday, and making it about horror, and that is no different with today's film that we're gonna go and check out, spoiler free, Heart Eyes. This is directed by Josh Rubin, who some of you guys would know maybe for his feature in the film Scare Me, but he also directed Werewolves Within, and he featured in the new Creep Tapes TV show. I just think he's a really cool, I wouldn't say emerging, he's been around in horror for a long time, but he's definitely a unique voice that I'm really excited to see a film from like this, a well-produced slasher, and this one was filmed in New Zealand, so it kind of is close to my heart in that respect. It's also co-written by Christopher Landon, who a lot of us love in horror and likes to keep things light and fresh and fun and funky. Obviously Happy Death Day and Freaky. He also wrote the screenplay We Have a Ghost. I just find everything he does is really fun, but he's one of the co-writers of this film. This film, of course, is a slasher, and it's about the Heart Eyes killer who has wreaked havoc for the last several years on Valentine's Day by stalking and killing romantic couples. The film has Jordana Brewster, Olivia Holt, Devon Sawa, Madison Gooding. I think it sounds like a really fun popcorn horror, easy, digestible. That's what popcorn is, I guess. Just a fun watch, lighthearted slasher. Only horror fans can say that. Of course, there's been some buzz about one of the production companies that are involved with this film. I don't want to give them airtime. I don't think they deserve it, and I completely understand anyone's views on that. I'm gonna leave more about that in the comments down below. But I wanna let you know whether it's worth your time to go out and see Heart Eyes this Valentine's Day. Is it a good one to watch? Maybe with someone who doesn't like horror? I'll let you know. I'll let you know how gory it is, how scary it is, and the originality factor without spoiling a thing. That's what we do here, and I would love to take you along with me. Will you be my Valentine's date? No? Okay, well good, because I'm going with my friend Robin, so that would have been awkward. You're gonna be a third wheel tonight. Let's go check it out, and also I've got a little furry friend to say goodbye to for once, for those who remember Gromit very fondly. I used to do that all the time. So say hello and goodbye to Boo Boo before we go out, who I am looking after. Not my cat, but a friend's cat, and so adorable. Anyway, let's go. This video is already full of warm and fuzziness. Let's see if there's some blood. Let's go. Oh my god. I just had the weirdest experience in that cinema. Nothing really to do with the film, but it's quite funny that it is a slasher, and it was just the weirdest cinema trip. But let's talk about the film. First up, I do want to say I enjoyed that very much. It was way more goofy than I was expecting, and it was just a silly, funny movie. I know that that's to be expected with a slasher, but I think maybe not watching the trailer as a whole, I didn't really get the vibe that it was going to be as silly and goofy and not take itself very seriously as it did. It was funny from the start, and it really let me turn my brain off, which was a fun time. I'm not going to ruin the setup because it is so strange and unconventional in all of the best ways, but it is set in a big city. I think it's Seattle, and there's this Heart Eyes killer that is terrorizing people on Valentine's Day. And from here, we meet our protagonist, and she is not having the best day by any means, and she gets caught up with the case of the Heart Eyes killer. The funny thing about this film is it is the most unconventional setup, structure, meet cute idea of, especially obviously based around Valentine's Day, but it uses every single trope on the way down. And I felt it was a very interesting mix because it's like a very common, very straightforward slasher, but the way that they get to these certain situations are just, it's all over the place, and I had no idea what was going to happen next, what situation they were going to be in, where they were going to go, what's the next location. It was so fast-paced, especially in the first quarter, and it just was taking you all over the place, a lot to do with her job, and then other things going on in her life, and I just couldn't figure out, it wasn't like a simple setup, but it does keep it simple in terms of the depth. It's a very easy film to follow, and because it is fast-paced and keeping it quite light, quite comedic, quite silly, so goofy. It's all one-liners. It's all the way someone says something, the tone of their voice, just the way the delivery is. It's just so funny, and so many like one-liners that you would find just strange and random in these kinds of films, and I felt like they really played on that, and they weren't too serious, which was so fun. But I would say that the structure goes from being super fast-paced and really just all over the place, where you're trying to figure out what the story's what the setup is going to be and what the situation's going to be. It goes from that, and then it slows right down, and then it has more fast pace, and then it slows right down. And it was a very weird structured film in terms of, it was just a little bit janky. It was as goofy with the arc as it is in the dialogue, in the characters, and everything in between. And also saying it is a whodunit, of course, it's a slasher. I would say it wasn't predictable, I'll give you that, but I wasn't completely satisfied with its outcome. But I think that's great to know before you go into the film, because I think if I knew how goofy and how silly and how fun it was, I don't think it would change it. I still very much enjoyed it, but I think that that's a good thing to know tonally going in. But here's the good part, guys. In saying all of that, they balance that really silly, fun element of it with so much amazing violence and gore. It is very bloody. There's a lot of fluid and all kinds. They really go there, and when I say that they play on tropes, they really push it to the brink. They know what they're doing, and they exaggerate. It's over-exaggerated, and it does so in its comedy, in its horror, but also in the romance side of it. It is a very romantic film, and I don't know if I was expecting it not to be, I guess because it's a horror. I just felt like all of those elements, it really combines them in such a balanced way that it seems very strange at points, because oh god, did I Illuminati? In what land do those three things go together? And if you ask if three genres walked into a bar, this is what would come out. The romance, comedy, horror, all together at the same time. It's a very strange tone, but it's a very fun one. I think Olivia Holt really shined in this movie, but her character, as I said, there's not a lot of depth given to anyone, but I really enjoyed this is such like a silly millennial horror fan thing to say, but I really enjoy seeing Devon Sawa in these films. I like seeing him come back, and he's in so many different horror movies these days, and it's just giving such ode and making him a classic horror figure, obviously from Final Destination, but it's just seeing him reoccurring in a lot of these fun slashes or whatever type of horror movies. I really like that he is coming back and placing himself, and he's not scared to have fun and be goofy with it. And there were so many kind of little touches like that that just really pleased me as a horror fan. This movie is made for horror fans, but this movie is made for horror fans who've been fans of the genre for a long time, because it is the fun thing that you see in the tropes, and so the payoff is for you. But at the same time, it's such a good entry level one if you aren't scared of, graphic scenes. If you're into graphic stuff, it is a fun one to kind of push people over the edge. They just have to be okay with graphic stuff, which I get people aren't. In terms of scare, I would say it is just that, those elements that probably would shock people, but I did get scared several times from jump scares during this film, which I was expecting with a popcorn slasher. It's gonna happen, and there are a few very effective jump scares. Like I said, it's really over the top with the tropes, the flickering lights, the person's there, then they're not, then they're there, all that fun stuff. It's all in here. So if you're okay with those conventions and you want to see it pushed to its limits, I think this is a fun, very easy watch. Like I said, it's a very surface level film, and I guess I haven't seen anything this surface level in a very long time. But because of that, I feel like it's a great group watch, and it's a great repeat watch, especially with the start, with it being so fast paced and the dialogue so witty and back and forth and very strange and just goofy, it really makes it a fun film to just chuck on and not have to be too invested in. So do I think it's a new classic? I don't know. I would definitely watch this film every Valentine's. I don't think we have, I mean, we have Bloody Valentine's, but I don't think we have one that's this goofy and fun and just silly. And it definitely fits the vibe of Happy Death Day. It feels very similar to that. Also, you should look up the director. I'll put a photo here. There is a small cameo with him in it, so you'll want to check out that. And also, I do want to say there is a mid-credit scene, so don't run off to the bathroom as soon as the credits start. There is a mid-credit scene. In terms of cinematography and music, I really don't have much to say. It was very stock standard in terms of a slasher, a modern one. I wouldn't say that there's any techniques that were different, but I very much liked the look of the villain's mask and that whole aspect. But again, I did touch on that before, but again, I will say I wasn't like overly impressed with the ending, or more so the whodunit aspect. I wasn't overly impressed by that. It's fine, but I don't know. I felt like with this idea, maybe when I know that they're cooking up an idea for Valentine's Day to make like a new slasher, that they might have done something a little bit more clever. So I can't be mad though. It really set the tone from the start that it wasn't going to be too deep. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10 for personal. I think it's really fun to go watch at the cinemas, especially with a group of friends. I know we were cackling, we were having a ball. And I will get to what happened in the cinema, by the way. Sorry, I didn't even mention that. I got so into talking about the movie. But let me give the scores first. For originality, you know what, a 3. And for scare, I'm gonna give it a 6, because I do think there's a lot of graphic elements. There were some jump scares. It's more thrilling and gross than, like, I'm not scared of anything after that. Will you guys be watching this one? Let me know down below. I do think it was really fun, and I'm so glad I got to see it at the cinema. Speaking of, we did have some hiccups during my session. The sound kept cutting out, and every time we went to go find help, no one was in the cinema. Everything was fine. We probably missed a couple of minutes towards the start and in one of the talking scenes, but it wasn't a big deal. It was fine. But then when we went to go find someone afterwards, no one was in the building, and I felt like I was in a slasher myself. There's more to this story, but I'm not going to bore you with the details, but we just had a very haunted screening where things kept going wrong. Like, everything that could go wrong went wrong, but the film was so fun, and it was, I guess, really a testament to the film that it didn't take me out of it, and that it was such a light-hearted film in a weird way that it didn't really ruin the tone, which was quite nice. If it was going to happen in any film, I'm kind of glad it happened in this one, because if it happened in something like Presence or Companion, it would have been a very different story. This one's very easygoing. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to hang out with me some more, well, guess what? I've already done a monthly wrap-up for everything I watched in January, and I have some great recommendations. I watched so much in January and a lot of good TV shows. So go check out that video, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.